Happy New Year, folks. Carly Smith, John Fanta. What a better way than starting the 2025 new year off with a CAA Hoops insider. John, such a joy to once again talk all things CAA men's basketball. Great to have you on the call today. And, you've had such an incredible start to the season. And I'm just going to give you the floor right away to share some of the shining moments that you've witnessed so far throughout the league.
Carly, it's great to be with you. CAA Hoops fans, we're back. We are back. We're ready for the run towards Washington when the CAA will crown a men's basketball champion and somebody will punch their ticket to the NCAA tournament. As we're talking, Carly, we're 68 days away from the Field of 68 getting unveiled. So how about that? Can't wait for conference play as it continues to rev up, and it revved up this past week. But early season moments that caught my eye. Number one, the start of the Charleston Chris Mack era. Chris Mack being back on the sidelines, and Charleston wasted no time. On the opening day of the season, one of the very first games to tip off, they beat Southern Illinois in the Field of 68 opening showcase. First off, credit to Chris Mack for going out to Sioux Falls, playing a game like that. Ante Berzovic put on a show, and we're going to talk more about him. But then Charleston followed that up by beating South Florida at TD Arena, a solid South Florida program. Then they beat Florida Atlantic in a double overtime game. So the Cougars, they set the tone to their season. We had a couple of high major victories. How about Elon? How about Billy Taylor and the Phoenix? What a start to the year they're off to. 11-4. Now they've won 4 in a row, but they beat Notre Dame back on November the 22nd. A great win out in South Bend. And for the Phoenix, it was their first win over an ACC school since 2005, their first power conference victory since 2012. And for that Elon program, that is a tremendous moment for them. TK Simpkins was great with 17. TJ Simpkins had 16 points. How about Hofstra? Hofstra beat Seton Hall. And for the Pride, that was a huge win on Long Island at Nassau Coliseum. When you're talking about Speedy Claxton's group, they really grinded the Pirates down with their defense. Hofstra defended at a high level. That was their first win over a Big East team since 2006. And then Monmouth took down Seton Hall, their first win over a Big East foe since 2015. So there were a number of great moments in non-conference play. Those are a couple that caught my eye. Drexel in the Big Five Classic won their game at the Wells Fargo Center. So the Dragons, I'm still looking out at them as conference play forges along. This is a really fun league, and I think we're in for a lot of good moments. Not to mention, Carly, I think all three programs that welcomed in new coaches, Charleston with Chris Mack, William & Mary with Brian Earl, and Hampton with Ivan Thomas. I think all three programs made some great hires, bringing in new leaders, and I think all three of them are additions to what is a really well-coached league that is led by the man at the top of the CAA wins chart, Billy Cohen at Northeastern.
You just hit the nail on the head, John, and we've got so much excitement on the horizon, but let's go a little bit more in depth with some of those teams you mentioned, okay? Let's talk about the Phoenix. Posted its best non-conference performance as a Division I program entering conference play, went 2-0 in the opening week of league play. You look at the floor, so many weapons. John, what's your analysis?
Well, this team has balance. You're right. They do have a lot of weapons. Nick Dorn is a stud. He is shooting 39% from three. He's averaging over 16 points per game. And when you couple him with TJ Simpkins, who's averaging 15 points per game, they have a really nice scoring duo at the top. Sam Sherry at 14 per game. TK Simpkins, he went down with an injury a couple weeks ago. But Carly, when you have four players averaging at least 14 per game, you're going to be successful. And that's what this team has right now. But here's the other thing they're doing tremendously. They're rebounding the basketball. Their rebounding margin is plus 11. Wow. Plus 11. That means that they're out hustling teams. They're out willing teams. But defensively, they're doing it too. They're top 10 nationally. Hofstra is 6th. Elon is 10th. In field goal percentage defense in the country, just over 37%. So they're defending. They've got scoring balance. And in their 2 wins out of the gates, they won both games by 8 points. But what they're doing is a skill. They're closing games. They're grinding out games. They're finding ways to win. Billy Taylor's done a nice job with this program this year. They've won 4 consecutive games, and 3 of those 4 have been decided by 8 points or less. But that's a skill, being able to find a way. And to go to A&T and win that game and come back, you host Hampton, you find a way there. And now the Phoenix are going to look to keep it going here with a game at William & Mary on Thursday. But I like this team. I like their makeup. And I think for Billy Taylor, it's a matter of he's got more sources of offense. You got to be able to score. And Elon has versatile ways of doing so. They're not playing fast. It's not like they're playing an electrifying speed. They're actually 302 in tempo in the country. But there's a science behind that. Mm-hmm. That means when you play controlled and you're not turning the basketball over and you're rebounding the ball and you're getting balanced scoring, you're going to be able to score the ball efficiently. You could be able to be in a lot of games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Really happy for Billy Taylor and company, such a great group of people.
Excited
to see this upcoming week. Okay, you mentioned him. How about the job Brian Earl is doing at William & Mary? The Tribes start conference play with an impressive sweep of Hofstra and Stony Brook on the road, John. On the road, that's tough. William & Mary, very deep, and is one of the top 3-point shooting teams in the nation. So what have you seen from the Tribe?
Well, tempo. They're playing a totally different pace. They are refreshing to watch. And if you're a William & Mary fan, you've got to be thrilled. You've got a top 100 offense in the country. That is a big, big climb from where they were a year ago in that column. This program, the ball pops. They're top 40 in tempo. And they're getting different contributions from sources like we talked about with Elon, but they look very different in how they're getting it done. This is a dangerous team because when the ball is popping for them and they're getting off threes and open looks, they're having a lot of success. I look at what they did this past weekend, the win over Hofstra. You go 12 of 21 from 3. Tremendous 3-point shooting. Gabe Dorsey with 3 made triples. Matthias Case with 3 triples. Kyle Frazier comes off the bench. He goes 3 of 4 from downtown. Shooting is infectious, Carly. And William & Mary is able to generate a lot of good opportunities with the way they move the ball. I think with how they go about their business offensively. They're a team that, when you look at them, they're averaging 18 assists per game. And to your point, 11 and a half threes made per game. I mean, that is a staggering statistic. So this team's got bench contributions. I like that about them. But Noah Collier at the top of the scoring charts with 13 per game. Really good balance. Collier's not a 3-point shooter, but he shoots 63%, and he gets it done for them on the interior. They got a lot to like because they move the ball, and again, they make a lot of threes, and they're averaging 83 points per game. So what a start. What a start to conference play for the Tribe. And to beat Stony Brook, you beat Hofstra. And when you beat Hofstra, you get heads to turn. People notice you because teams just don't go to Hofstra and shoot the ball the way that William & Mary shot it at Hofstra.
Correct. Yeah.
Then it's hard to stay on Long Island and go to Stony Brook. Coaches around this league will say, that it's never easy to go on the Long Island trip. William & Mary open conference play. So I'm going to say this now. Nobody complain about your travel to Long Island. William & Mary did it first, and they won both their games.
There you go.
That's a statement from the Tribe. And to get it done over Stony Brook on a second game, to score 83 points, follow up the 74-point performance. That's a huge credit to the Tribe. Brian Earl was a home run hire because he had success at Cornell. Mm-hmm. And if you have success at Cornell, that's going to translate here in the CAA. Terrific hire by the Tribe.
Indeed, and you'll get to see it in person very shortly, but we'll talk about that.
I can't wait.
Coming moments because, John, Charleston. Okay, still calling the shots. 2-time defending CAA champs. They've won 9 out of the last 11 games. Started CAA playoff 2-0 with a statement win over Towson and then Hampton. New leadership this year under head coach Chris Mack, as you mentioned, but same tenacity. What are you seeing from the Cougars, John?
Well, same tenacity and same electrifying style. Just in a different way. They're 16th, the Cougars, in the country in KenPom adjusted tempo. So they are the 16th fastest playing team in America. Chris Mack would tell you his team needs to defend even better because they're 119 right now in defensive efficiency. He wants them to play even better on that end of the floor. He wants his teams to be gritty. But you know what? He's got a good ball club. He really does. And they beat Towson 77-69. And in that game, they get Ante Brzovic with 16, 11, 5 assists. I mean, I think Brzovic is one of the most versatile talents in college basketball.
Yeah.
And he's a great story. You know, a guy who has been around this league plenty of times, a senior from Croatia, you know, was told at one point basketball wasn't going to be his thing. It's not going to work out. You're not going to get to the level you want to. Division II Southeastern Oklahoma State transfer. And what's he doing now? He's flourishing for his team. Daywill Tavares, a 20-point performance with 7 rebounds against Towson. I mean, that's interesting for Tavares to have 20, AJ Smith to have 20. Another team that to me, you know, they're playing hard defensively. They're getting out on the break. They're not a crazy three-point shooting team, although they're averaging 8 made threes per game. But I think for them, they just play with such intensity. And they've got enough between Brzovic and with Tavares now coming on and Darren Boyd, another team that has 4 guys averaging in double figures. And I think as the year goes on, Lazar Djokovic can play a part in what they're doing. CJ Fulton is he's steady Eddie in the assist column. 79 assists for Fulton to just 20 turnovers. So I like the Cougars quite a bit. I think that they are the front runner in this conference, but it doesn't mean that parity isn't going to exist. Parity is going to be a rich theme in the CAA this year, because if you look at it, the opening week of CAA play, 8 of the league's 14 teams went 1-1, Carly.
Yeah, wow.
And 9 of the 14 games were decided by 9 points or less.
There you go. My goodness. And here we go. Here we go, John, because you're on the road. You're on the road, heading down south. So what games are you keying in on? What can we watch?
Well, we've got it Thursday night for you. Our CAA on CBS Sports Network debut takes us to a really interesting ball game down at William & Mary in Williamsburg. Elon and William & Mary, 2 of the teams that are 2-0 in the conference to start, 2 of the 3 teams. So only one will be unbeaten after that one. Should be a fantastic matchup. We talked about it with both these teams' balanced scoring attack. William & Mary's electric offense, their 3-point attack. Elon, can they defend the 3? Nick Dorn on one side, and on the other, you know, you've got a couple of stars in Noah Collier and Gabe Dorsey, so I'm excited for that one. But that's not all. We got several other intriguing games on the schedule. You get Charleston up to Hofstra. Interesting game, you know, for the Pride. This is a Hofstra team that obviously got surprised in their conference opener, and then, you know, bounced back and just grinded Northeastern down 55-37 in game 2. So I'm very intrigued to see now Hofstra welcome in Charleston. Cruz Davis has to be really strong for the Pride for them to win. He's got to make perimeter shots. He's the one who can drive them. German Plotnikov, important. Gina Rungaren has to be good as well. He's got to bounce back from a bit of a cold shooting performance. So I'm looking at Hofstra welcoming in Charleston. I think that should be a really interesting game. But you know what? There's games across the board in this league. And I'll tell you what, that schedule is loaded up. We got you covered on CBS Sports Network. You've got Drexel at Stony Brook. You've got Northeastern at Towson. You know, I'm intrigued to see what happens in that game. I think that could be, you know, a very interesting game between Northeastern and Towson. Watch out for Rashad King, who he had a career high 27 points in a win over Delaware. So I'm looking for King to have a big game. And for Towson, don't forget about Towson, because Tyler Tejada is a stud. He had 21 points, 6 in overtime in a great win. Not a good win, a great win for Pat Scarry as the Tigers won at UNCW. Then Tejada had 22 against Charleston. So that was a statement maker for Towson in week 1 of conference play. UNCW, they're going to be fine. Harlan Obioha, he's got to continue to be a big-time impact for his team. Last week averaged 16 and 9 per game, so I'm interested to see what Obioha and company do as UNCW heads to Monmouth. We got the Elon William & Mary game on CBS Sports Network. Campbell's at Hampton. Delaware at A&T. It's going to be fun. Drexel also on Long Island at Stony Brook before Saturday, which I'm looking out for UNCW at Hofstra. So an especially big weekend for the Hofstra Pride at home against the two heavyweights of Charleston and UNCW.
All that and more. CAAsports.com results recaps. Be there as always. Fantastic breakdown, John Fanta. So good to have you back, my friend. And I'll see you next week.
See you then, Carly. Thank you.